The Birhan Farm, Kulara.
This isn't to scale, Darman said. He scraped marks in the loose soil on the exposed dirt floor of the barn and placed pieces of stale bread carefully on the crude chart. This is the river. These three crusts are RV's Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. He snapped the wood into more pieces and placed them. This is the droid base, and this is Uthon's lab. Etain held out her cupped hand. He dropped 2 chunks of wood into it.
This is Lik Onkit's residence, she said. He's the Neomoidian overlord, for want of a better word. He runs the agricultural produce export business, and that near enough makes him an emperor here.
Okay, what else have we got? Etain crumbled her remaining lump of wood into smaller pieces and scattered them carefully in patches.
Imbroni itself, and Teklit, which is the spaceport, and its storage and distribution depot.
And this was the last known position for my squad. Etain stared at the worm-eaten wood and the moldy crusts that might help them save the Grand Army from destruction.
Why are we scraping maps in the dirt when we've got perfectly good holocharts?
That's what Sergeant Skirota used to do, Darman said. He didn't like hollows. Too transparent. He also thought that feeling the texture of dirt focused your mind.
And you don't need any technology to do it.
He was a great believer in intuition. Darman drew his blaster and turned suddenly. The barn door opened. He relaxed and dropped his arm to his side. Janart held more drab fabric bundled in her arms.
You have to go,
she said breathlessly.
Take a look out there to the east. They're burning the fields to flush you out and deny you cover. There's somewhere you can lie low, but you have to pass for farmers. That's not going to be easy for you, lad. You're too big and well-fed.
Etain didn't rise to the bait. She knew she'd fit in fine with the undernourished, shabby locals. I have to take my gear, Darman said. I can lay up somewhere with it if I have to.
Can you leave any of it?
Not if we're going to blow up that facility. I've got all the implosion ordnance to deal with the nanovirus, as well as the E-web cannon. We need it.
Then take a cart. There's a curfew on powered vehicles.
Janart tossed one of the bundles to Darman.
And get out of that armor. You couldn't be more conspicuous if you were wearing a wedding gown.
We can try to make RV Gamma.
No. Go to the first safe house you can find. I'll reach your squad and let them know. Then I'll return to you.
There was an assortment of barrows and handcarts stored in the barn, all in various states of disrepair. They'd attract no attention. The network of dirt roads was well traveled by people trying to get their quota of bark and other crops to Teklit on foot or with Merly carts. Loading the sections of blaster cannon on the sturdiest barrow they could find made Etain realize just how heavy a burden Darman had carried. When she tried to heave one of the gray packs into the cart, it nearly wrenched her shoulder from the socket, so she decided to enlist a little assistance from the force. She hadn't expected it to be so heavy. She wasn't the only one with deceptive physical strength.
This is all weapons?
She asked. Pretty much.
Not enough to take 100 droids, though.
Depends on how you use it, Darman said. Etain wondered if he looked more conspicuous out of his sinister gray armor than in it. The armor had made him look much bigger, but even without it, he was so solidly built that it was obvious he'd spent his life training for strength, eating adequate protein. Subsistence farmers didn't have that distinctive slope from neck to shoulder, formed by overdeveloped trapezius muscles. Even the youngsters bore the marks of constant exposure to the elements. Darman simply looked strikingly healthy and unburned by the sun. He didn't even have calloused hands. And then there was that ramrod parade ground posture. He looked exactly like the elite soldier he was. He would never pass for a local. Etain hoped the farmers would be more terrified of him than they were of Hokan. The night horizon was amber like the urban skies of Coruscant, but it was flame, not the light of a million lamps, that caused the reflection from the clouds. It looked like rain might follow. They could cover the cart with a tarpaulin and not cause any curiosity. Layers of bark stalk, sacks of bark grain, and strips of dried Kushayan buried Darman's gear, as he kept calling it. His language swung from slang and generality to highly educated subtlety. From gear, his catch-all noun for any artifact, to DC-17s and DC-15s, and a whole slew of numbers and acronyms that left Etain befuddled.
"Look at that,"
Darman said, assessing the skyline.
"That flame front must be 4 clicks at least. That's 1 million or more credits of bark going up in smoke. The farmers are going to be furious. The Neomoidians are going to be even angrier. So will Burhan,"
Janart said.
"That's a fair whack of his bark you're using for camouflage, girl. Get going."
The Gurlanin took Darman's datapad and inserted a memstick.
"These are the relatively safe homes I could chart. Don't advertise your identity, either one of you. Even if the master of the house you call on knows who you are, do him the favor of not compromising him by admitting it."
Etain had covered her distinctive Jedi cloak with an embrawny ankle-length tunic. Janart indicated her hair.
"And that,"
she said.
"The braid too? Unless you want to advertise what you are."
Etain hesitated. She had once heard someone say they could never remove their betrothal ring, not until they died. Her Padawan's braid felt equally permanent, as if her soul was woven in with it, and that removing it after so long, even temporarily, would rend the fabric of the universe and underscore her belief that she was not Jedi material. But it had to be done. She unfastened the single thin braid and combed the strands of wavy hair loose with her fingers. She felt less like a Jedi than ever, and not even remotely close to a commander.
"I imagine you never thought a Jedi commander would run away from a fight,"
she said to Darman as they made their carefully unhurried way up the track.
"Not running away,"
Darman said.
"This is E&E, escape and evasion." "Sounds like running to me." "Tactical withdrawal to regroup." "You're a very positive man."
The child was almost completely absent now. She could mainly sense focus and purpose. He shamed her without intention.
"I'm sorry that I lost my composure earlier."
"Only in private, not under fire, Commander."
"I said not to call me that."
"Where we can be overheard, I'll obey your order." He paused.
"Everyone loses it now and then." "I'm not supposed to."
"If you don't crack sometimes, how do you know how far you can go?" It was a good point. For some reason, he was far more reassuring than Master Fullier had ever been. Fullier, when not getting caught up in putting the galaxy right, was all effortless brilliance. Darman was expert at his craft too, but there was a sense of hard-won skill, and there was no randomness or mystery to that. She liked him for being so pragmatic. It crossed her mind that she might be saving clone soldiers from death by biological agent so they could die from blaster and cannon round. It was a horrible thought. She didn't like having to kill, not even by another's actions. It was going to make life as a commander exceptionally hard.